First Contact's Price. The Terran space vessel Hyperion emerged from hyperspace like a phantom, its obsidian hull absorbing the distant starlight. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the tactical display showing the massive debris field ahead. What had once been the proud Meridian Alliance defense fleet now drifted in pieces, a graveyard of advanced technology rendered useless by an enemy humanity had never meant to face. "Status report," she commanded, her voice steady despite the gravity of their situation. This was humanity's first venture beyond their solar system, and they'd jumped straight into hell. Lieutenant Marcus Rivera's fingers danced across his console, multiple energy signatures at the edge of the system. "Captain, the attack pattern matches what the Meridian distress call described. Void Hunters." The name sent a chill through the bridge crew. The Meridian Alliance's emergency transmission had painted a grim picture, an ancient race of technological nomads who stripped civilizations bare, taking not just resources but knowledge itself. They devastated the Meridian fleet with weapons that seemed to ignore their most advanced shields. "What about survivors?" Sarah asked, though she already suspected the answer. "Picking up emergency beacons from several orbital stations," Marcus replied. "The main Meridian colony is still intact, but their orbital defenses are gone. Estimate 2 hours before the Void Hunters begin their ground assault." Sarah's jaw tightened. The Hyperion wasn't supposed to be here. Earth's first faster-than-light capable warship was meant to make peaceful first contact with the Meridian Alliance. Instead, they'd arrived to find a massacre in progress. "Engineering, give me a status on our experimental systems," Sarah called over the ship's comm. Chief Engineer Yuki Tanaka's response came quickly. "The quantum phase drive is stable, Captain. Our hull's metamaterial coating is functioning at optimal levels. We can make ourselves invisible to most scanning systems, but we've never tested it against anything like these Void Hunters." That was the crux of their predicament. The Hyperion represented humanity's best technological achievements, but it was built to match what they thought they'd find in space. The Void Hunters were clearly operating on another level entirely. "Dr. Harrison, what's your analysis of their weapons?" Sarah asked the ship's chief scientist. Elena Harrison's hologram appeared on the bridge, her avatar's expression troubled. "Their energy weapons operate on principles we barely understand. They're not just penetrating shields, they're temporarily altering the fundamental forces holding matter together." But she paused, a glimmer of hope in her virtual eyes. They might not be prepared for more primitive approaches. Sarah nodded slowly, an idea forming. The Hyperion carried an array of experimental weapons, but it also packed something no other advanced civilization seemed to use anymore: good old-fashioned kinetic kill vehicles. Tungsten rods designed to hit targets at relativistic speeds, causing damage through pure physics rather than exotic energy fields. "Commander Park, begin calculating firing solutions for our mass drivers. Lieutenant Rivera, plot us a course that keeps us in the debris field's shadow. Dr. Harrison, I want you working with engineering to find a way to mask our heat signature when we fire." Her crew moved with practiced efficiency, each understanding the gravity of what they were about to attempt. Humanity's first contact with an alien civilization wouldn't be a diplomatic exchange. It would be stepping into someone else's war. The tactical display updated, showing the Void Hunters' ships beginning their approach to the colony. Their vessels were beautiful in a terrifying way, all curved lines and pulsing energy fields that seemed to bend space itself around them. "Captain," Marcus called out, his voice tight, "I'm picking up transmissions from the colony. They're evacuating civilians to underground shelters, but their ground-based weapons won't last long against a full orbital bombardment." Sarah stood, her decision made. "Send a tight beam transmission to the colony. Let them know help is coming, but tell them to keep radio silence afterward." She turned to address her bridge crew directly. "I know this isn't the mission we trained for. We're about to pick a fight with an enemy that just destroyed a fleet more advanced than anything humanity has ever built. But there are millions of civilians down there, and we're their only hope. She could see the determination in their eyes, the same spirit that had driven humanity to reach for the stars despite all the obstacles they'd faced on Earth. The Void Hunters think they're hunting prey. Sarah continued, a grim smile forming. Let's show them what happens when they run into humanity instead. Battle stations. The Hyperion's crew moved with purpose, readying their ship for humanity's first interstellar combat. They were outnumbered and technologically outmatched, but they had something the Void Hunters couldn't account for: human ingenuity and the willingness to try the unexpected. As the ship glided silently through the debris field, Sarah thought about all the science fiction stories humanity had written about first contact. None of them had quite captured this moment: the weight of responsibility, the fear, and the fierce determination to prove that humanity deserved its place among the stars. Weapons range in 5 minutes, Marcus reported. Sarah nodded, her mind already racing through potential strategies. The Void Hunters had never encountered humans before. They didn't know humanity's history of warfare, didn't understand that sometimes the simplest solutions were the most effective. Most importantly, they didn't know that humans were at their most dangerous when protecting others. Let's give them a proper introduction to humanity, she said quietly, watching the distance close between her ship and the enemy fleet. The real question wasn't whether the Hyperion could win. It was how much the galaxy would change once humanity showed what it was truly capable of. The weight of stars. The Hyperion's first shot changed everything. The relativistic tungsten rod struck the lead Void Hunter vessel before their sensors could even register the attack. Physics didn't care about their advanced shields or energy fields. 20 tons of metal moving at a significant fraction of light speed simply transformed into pure kinetic energy upon impact. Direct hit, Marcus announced, his voice steady as the enemy ship split apart in a spectacular display of light and debris. Their fleet is responding, but they seem confused about our position. Sarah watched the tactical display as the Void Hunters' formation scattered. Their elegant ships moved with incredible grace, but they were searching in the wrong places, their sensors still hunting for energy signatures rather than physical objects. Keep us moving through the debris field, Sarah ordered. Yuki, how's our heat signature? The metamaterial coating is holding, Captain, the engineer replied. The heat sinks can handle 2 more shots before we need to vent. The Void Hunters were adapting quickly, though. Their remaining ships began firing seemingly random patterns of their matter-disrupting weapons, trying to catch the Hyperion with a lucky shot. One beam passed close enough to make the hull vibrate. They're learning, Dr. Harrison's hologram noted, but they're still thinking like energy weapon users. They haven't considered that we might be using the debris itself as cover. Sarah nodded. The Hyperion's hull had been designed to mimic the electromagnetic properties of space debris, making the ship virtually indistinguishable from the wreckage around it. It was a purely human solution. Instead of trying to become invisible, they simply made themselves look like garbage. New contact, Marcus called out suddenly. Multiple signatures emerging from the colony. Civilian transport ships, at least 20 of them. Sarah's heart sank. The colony was attempting an evacuation, but their ships would be easy targets for the Void Hunters. The tactical display showed the civilian vessels rising on desperate columns of fusion fire, their paths taking them directly through the combat zone. The Void Hunters are turning to engage, Marcus reported, his voice tight. Those transports don't stand a chance. Sarah's mind raced. The Hyperion could probably escape undetected, but that would mean leaving thousands of civilians to die. Everything they knew about the Void Hunters suggested they didn't take prisoners. Engineering, I need options, Sarah called. How many shots can we take while running hot? Maybe 3 before critical systems start failing, Yuki replied. But if we fire while running that hot, we'll light up on every sensor in the system. Commander Park spoke up from his tactical station. Captain, I have an idea. It's crazy, but it might work. Those are my favorite kind, Commander. Go ahead. The Void Hunter's weapons work by disrupting matter at a quantum level, right? What if we gave them too much matter to disrupt? Dr. Harrison's hologram flickered as she processed the implications. You're suggesting we use the debris field as a shield. The energy weapons would spend themselves disrupting the wreckage before reaching the civilian ships. Better, Park said, his hands moving across his console. We use the Hyperion's cargo tractors to gather debris, then release it in controlled bursts. Create a corridor of chaff for the evacuation ships. It was insane, dangerous, and exactly the kind of thinking they needed. Sarah made her decision. Execute. Engineering. Divert power to the cargo tractors. Navigation. Plot us a course parallel to the evacuation route. We're going to give those civilians a fighting chance. The Hyperion's powerful magnetic systems activated, drawing in fragments of destroyed ships, like a magnet collecting iron filings. The ship's computers calculated optimal release patterns, turning the debris into a defensive screen. First wave of civilian ships approaching our position, Marcus reported. Void Hunter vessels moving to intercept. Now, Sarah ordered. The Hyperion released its collected debris in a precisely calculated pattern. When the Void Hunters fired, their energy weapons spent themselves disrupting the cloud of wreckage, creating spectacular light shows, but failing to reach their intended targets. It's working, Marcus exclaimed. First wave of civilian ships is past their firing line. But the Void Hunters were already adapting, their ships moving to find firing angles around the debris screen. Sarah watched the tactical display, knowing they couldn't maintain this defense forever. Second wave of civilian ships launching, Marcus called out. 15 minutes until they reach our position. Sarah gripped her command chair. Yuki, give me everything you can to the tractors. We need more debris for the screen. Captain, Dr. Harrison interrupted, her hologram showing concern. I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the larger Void Hunter vessels. They're changing their weapon configurations. Sarah had expected this. No enemy, no matter how advanced, maintained their technological edge by being predictable. The question was whether the Hyperion's crew could adapt faster than their opponents. Dr. Harrison, work with tactical. I want options before they finish whatever they're planning. Engineering, prepare for emergency maneuvers. We're not losing those civilian ships. As she gave orders, Sarah thought about the weight of this moment. Humanity's first major space battle wasn't about victory or glory. It was about protection, about standing between the innocent and those who would harm them. It was, she realized, the perfect way to show the galaxy what humans were really made of. The Void Hunters were about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous opponents weren't those with the most advanced technology, but those with the most to protect and the creativity to use whatever tools they had at hand. The real battle was just beginning, and Sarah intended to show them exactly why humanity had survived countless catastrophes on Earth to reach the stars. Breaking point. The Hyperion shuddered as another Void Hunter attack pierced their debris screen. Emergency lights flashed across the bridge as damage reports flooded in. The civilian evacuation was nearly complete, but the enemy's adapted weapons were now causing problems they couldn't ignore. Hull breach on Deck C. Yuki's voice crackled through the comm. Automated systems are sealing it, but our metamaterial coding is failing in that section. We can't stay hidden much longer. Sarah watched as the tactical display showed the Void Hunters' new attack pattern. They'd modified their weapons to create cascading disruption effects. Each shot triggered a chain reaction through nearby matter, making the debris screen work against the Hyperion instead of protecting it. Dr. Harrison, Sarah called out, what are we looking at? The scientist's hologram appeared, her expression grave. They're not just disrupting matter anymore. These new attacks are creating quantum entanglement chains. They're turning our debris shield into a giant sensor network. Every piece we manipulate lets them track our position more accurately. Last wave of civilian ships is clear, Marcus reported, though his relief was tempered by their situation. But we've got bigger problems. I'm detecting massive energy buildups in the largest Void Hunter vessels. Whatever they're charging up, it's beyond anything in our database. Sarah had been watching the enemy's movements carefully. Something about their attack patterns seemed familiar, triggering a memory from her tactical training. The way they positioned their ships, the geometric precision of their formation. Dr. Harrison accessed the ship's historical archives. Compare these attack patterns to ancient Earth naval tactics. The hologram flickered as Harrison processed the request. Her eyes widened. Captain, these maneuvers, they're variations of human battle strategies. Specifically, they match naval warfare doctrines from Earth's Age of Sail. A stunned silence fell over the bridge. Commander Park was the first to speak. That's impossible. Unless they've encountered humans before. Sarah finished. Long before we developed space travel. The implications were staggering. If the Void Hunters had studied Earth in the past, it would explain their rapid adaptation to human tactics. But it also meant something else. They weren't just random raiders. They had specifically waited for humanity to reach space. New energy spike. Marcus called out. They're firing their main weapons. The space around the Hyperion lit up as the Void Hunters launched their coordinated attack. But instead of trying to hit the ship directly, their beams intersected at precise points in space, creating a geometric pattern of quantum disruptions. They're boxing us in, Park realized, using 18th century naval tactics with quantum weapons. They're not trying to destroy us. They're trying to capture us. Sarah's mind raced. If the Void Hunters had studied human history, they would expect human responses to naval tactics, which meant their trap would be designed to counter traditional evasive maneuvers. Yuki, she called to engineering. Remember those modifications you wanted to make to the quantum phase drive? The ones I said were too risky. The ones that could tear the ship apart. Yes, Captain. How fast can you implement them? There was a pause. 10 minutes if we bypass all safety protocols. But Captain, it would mean. Do it. Dr. Harrison, I need you to work with engineering. If we're going to attempt something this insane, I want our best minds on it. The Void Hunters continued their methodical approach, their quantum field cage slowly contracting around the Hyperion. On the tactical display, Sarah could see them positioning ships to counter every standard escape vector. Captain, Marcus said quietly, they're broadcasting on all frequencies. It's a message in ancient Greek. Another piece of the puzzle clicked into place. They haven't just studied our naval tactics. They'd been watching Earth since classical times. Everything we've achieved, every technological step we've taken, they've been monitoring it all. Message translating now, Marcus continued. They're offering to elevate us, to complete the experiment. Sarah's expression hardened. So that's what this is. We're not prey. We're lab rats. They'd been guiding our development, waiting to see what we'd become. The revelation should have been devastating, but Sarah felt something else. Anger. Pure, human anger at the idea that some ancient race thought they could treat humanity like a science project. Yuki, status on those drive modifications. 5 more minutes, Captain. But even if it works, we'll only get one shot at whatever you're planning. Sarah stood from her command chair, addressing her crew. The Void Hunters think they know everything about humanity because they've studied our history, but they've made a crucial mistake. They think they can predict us because they've watched us develop. What they don't understand is that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our tactics. It's our ability to do the completely unexpected. She turned to the tactical display, watching the quantum cage continue to contract. They've built their trap assuming we'll think like naval commanders of the past. So let's show them something they've never seen before, something no sane species would ever attempt. Engineering reports ready, Marcus announced. Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. Send a message back to the Void Hunters. Tell them that humanity has grown beyond their experiment, and we're about to prove it. As her crew prepared for what might be either their finest moment or their last, Sarah reflected on the irony. The Void Hunters had watched humanity for centuries, cataloging every advancement, every strategy, every tactic. But they'd missed the most important lesson of human history. The most dangerous thing about humans wasn't their weapons or their technology. It was their absolute refusal to play by anyone else's rules. The human element. All hands, brace for quantum phase activation. Sarah's voice rang through the Hyperion's comm system as final preparations were made. The Void Hunter's quantum cage had contracted to its final stage, their ships forming a perfect geometric pattern around the human vessel. Engineering reports quantum phase drive modifications complete, Yuki announced, her voice strained. Captain, I should note that what we're attempting has a theoretical success rate of less than 20%. Noted, Sarah replied, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. Dr. Harrison, explain what we're about to attempt, so everyone knows exactly how crazy this is. The scientist's hologram appeared, her expression a mix of excitement and concern. We're going to overload the quantum phase drive while simultaneously detonating our remaining kinetic weapons. The resulting quantum fluctuation should create a cascading effect through their containment field. In English, Doctor, Commander Park requested. We're going to punch a hole in reality itself, Harrison simplified. Either it works and we escape through spaces that don't technically exist, or we tear ourselves apart at the quantum level, Sarah finished. But here's the beautiful part. The Void Hunters think they know every possible move we could make. They've studied our history, our tactics, our technology. But they've never seen humans deliberately break the laws of physics. The tactical display showed the enemy ships adjusting their positions microscopically, their quantum cage now perfectly aligned to prevent any conventional escape. Their message repeated in ancient Greek, still offering to elevate humanity. They're scanning us, Marcus reported. They've detected our power buildup, but their analysis suggests they think we're preparing for a conventional quantum jump. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Of course they do. Because no rational species would deliberately destabilize their own quantum drive. Good thing humans have never been accused of being entirely rational. Quantum phase drive at critical levels, Yuki reported. Containment fields are barely holding. Captain, whatever we're going to do, it needs to be soon. Sarah stood from her command chair, addressing her crew. The Void Hunters have made the same mistake many have made before them. They think that because they've studied us, they understand us. They've watched humanity develop from ancient times, noting our victories and defeats, cataloging our strategies and technologies. But they missed something fundamental about human nature. She paused, watching as the enemy ships tightened their formation further, preparing to spring their trap. We don't just break rules, we rewrite them. Throughout our history, every time someone said something was impossible, humans took it as a challenge. They say you can't escape a quantum cage. Watch us make our own doors through reality. Energy spike from the Void Hunter vessels. Marcus called out. They're beginning their capture sequence. Now, Sarah ordered. Yuki, initiate quantum phase overload. Tactical, detonate all remaining kinetic weapons simultaneously. Dr. Harrison, activate the emergency quantum stabilization field around the bridge. The Hyperion's engines screamed as they were pushed beyond their design limits. The kinetic weapons, instead of being fired, detonated inside their tubes, creating precisely calculated shockwaves through the ship's quantum field. Space itself seemed to shudder around them. Quantum field destabilizing, Harrison reported, her hologram flickering wildly. The cascade effect is beginning. 5 seconds to either break through or, well, complete quantum dissolution. Sarah gripped her command chair as reality began to warp around the Hyperion. Through the viewports, she could see the Void Hunter ships beginning to react, their perfect formation wavering as they detected something their centuries of observation hadn't prepared them for. 3 seconds, Harrison counted down. Quantum field collapse imminent. 2 seconds. 1. The universe disappeared. For a moment that felt like eternity, the Hyperion existed everywhere and nowhere, its quantum state completely undefined. Sarah felt herself simultaneously existing in multiple realities, each one a possible outcome of their desperate gamble. Then, with a flash that temporarily blinded every sensor in the system, the Hyperion reappeared, behind the Void Hunter fleet, completely outside their quantum cage. Status report. Sarah called out as reality reasserted itself around them. Hull integrity at 40%, Yuki responded, sounding almost surprised to be alive. Quantum drive is completely fried. We'll never do that again. But Captain, it worked. We actually did it. Marcus's voice was filled with awe as he reported, the Void Hunter fleet, they're in disarray. Their quantum cage collapsed when we broke through. Their formations are scattered. Captain, I don't think anyone has ever escaped them before. On the main view screen, Sarah could see the Void Hunter ships moving erratically, their perfect coordination shattered. Their centuries of studying humanity hadn't prepared them for this, for a species that would deliberately break the fundamental laws of reality just to prove a point. Send them a message, Sarah ordered, in ancient Greek, modern English, and every other human language we have in our database. Tell them, this is humanity. We appreciate your interest in our development, but we'll be handling our own evolution from here on out. Consider your experiment concluded. As the message transmitted, Sarah watched the Void Hunter ships begin to retreat, their elegant formations now replaced by what almost looked like panic. They had sought to capture and study humanity's first starship, to complete their centuries-long observation of human development. Instead, they had learned firsthand why humans had survived every challenge their world had thrown at them, because sometimes the best way to deal with an impossible situation was to do something equally impossible. Tomorrow's dawn. 3 days after the battle, the Hyperion drifted in high orbit around the Meridian colony world, its battle-scarred hull reflecting the light of an alien sun. Inside the ship's main conference room, Captain Sarah Chen sat across from First Speaker Talon of the Meridian Alliance, the alien diplomat's 4 eyes blinking in rapid succession as he reviewed the battle records. Impossible, Talon muttered, his translator converting his whistling language into English. In all our history, no one has ever escaped the Void Hunter's quantum cage. Yet your ship, with technology we would consider primitive, did not just escape. You drove them away entirely. Sarah watched the holographic replay of their desperate quantum phase maneuver. Sometimes the best solutions aren't about having the most advanced technology. They're about being willing to try what everyone else considers impossible. But the risks. Talon's head frills quivered. Our analysis shows your ship had less than a 20% chance of survival. You would have sacrificed yourselves to protect our evacuation ships. That's what humans do, Sarah replied simply. We protect those who need protection, and we don't let statistics tell us what we can't accomplish. The conference room's door slid open as Dr. Harrison entered, her hologram now projected from a Meridian quantum matrix after the Hyperion's systems were damaged. Captain, the analysis of the Void Hunter's retreat vectors is complete. They're leaving this sector entirely, something they've never done before in recorded history. Talon's frills rippled with excitement. You didn't just defeat them, you frightened them. A species that has terrorized the galaxy for millennia, and humanity's first starship made them run. Not because we're stronger or more advanced, Sarah noted, but because we're unpredictable. They spent centuries studying human history, learning our tactics, watching our development. But they never understood what really drives us. And what is that? Talon asked, genuinely curious. Sarah stood, walking to the viewport where engineers from both species were working together to repair the Hyperion's hull. Humanity doesn't just adapt to challenges, we redefine them. When someone builds an unbreakable cage, we don't try to break it. We change the nature of reality itself to make it irrelevant. The Meridian Alliance has voted, Talon announced formally. We wish to establish full diplomatic relations with Earth. More than that, we want to learn from you, not your technology. We have more advanced ships. But your way of thinking, your approach to problems. Your courage, added another voice. Commander Vix of the Meridian Defense Force entered the conference room, her metallic scales still bearing scorch marks from her own battle with the Void Hunters. My people have fought them for generations with superior technology and lost every time. You faced them with a single ship and achieved what we thought impossible. Captain, Marcus called over the comm. We're receiving transmissions from multiple sectors. Word of what happened here has spread. Other species, they want to talk to us. To Earth. Sarah exchanged glances with Dr. Harrison's hologram. They had come to make first contact with one alien civilization. Instead, they had demonstrated to the entire galaxy why humanity deserved its place among the stars. The Void Hunters thought they understood us because they watched our history, Sarah said, turning back to Talon and Vix. But they only saw our past. They never understood that every human achievement, every breakthrough, every victory came because someone decided to try what everyone else thought couldn't be done. Through the viewport, she could see more Meridian ships arriving, bringing supplies and aid now that the threat was gone. But they moved differently than before, not with the precise, calculated efficiency their advanced technology allowed, but with something new. Something they had learned from watching the Hyperion's desperate battle. Your ship will be repaired within days, Talon said. The Meridian Alliance pledges all our resources to this task. But we hope this is just the beginning. It is, Sarah assured him. The Void Hunters wanted to study humanity's development, to guide our evolution according to their plan. Instead, they learned why that was never possible. You can't control or predict a species that views the impossible as simply the next challenge to overcome. As if to emphasize her point, Yuki's voice came over the comm. Captain, you might want to see this. We've been studying the quantum physics behind what we did. It shouldn't have worked. The math says it was completely impossible. But since it did work, Dr. Harrison's hologram finished, excitement clear in her voice. We need to rewrite our understanding of quantum mechanics. The impossible became possible, so now we need new physics to explain why. Sarah smiled. It was perhaps the most human response possible to their situation, not celebrating their victory, but immediately looking for ways to turn it into new knowledge, new possibilities. Tell Earth, she instructed Marcus. That first contact was successful, just not in the way we expected. And tell them, she paused, looking at their new allies, tell them that humanity's place in the galaxy will be exactly what it's always been on Earth, the ones who do what everyone else thinks can't be done. As the message was transmitted across light years to Earth, Sarah watched the joint human Meridian repair crews at work. They were already combining their technologies in ways neither species had considered before, inspired by the Hyperion's impossible victory to question their own limitations. The Void Hunters had spent centuries studying humanity's past, trying to predict and control their future. Instead, they had become the first to learn what the rest of the galaxy would soon discover, that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their technology or their tactics, but in their unshakable belief that the impossible was just another word for something that hadn't been done yet.